Want to see the Keanu Reeves work Cove? Just like shout his name. Oi! Shilo! Like permanently glued to his head. It just grows as he grows. Like its own sentient being. Oh, alive. Noisy face and always. Patent pending. What's up, bitches? It's Tuesday, which means it's another episode of Our Life Beginning in Always. I feel like this is probably the last chapter that I'm gonna get to play of this game until the DLC comes out. And that kind of is like bittersweet because I'm obsessed with this game right now. But you know, all good things must come to an end. One fine summer morning, you took in what had become a very special scene. The whole family having a meal together. Oh, she's so grown up now! Look at her! That's awesome! Your big sister Liz still hadn't lived at home full-time for a couple of years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here since it was an off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in the town because you had now also graduated high school. So who knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future? You watched as Liz laughed good-naturedly over a comment Ma made. Her Elizabeth-only mindset had only been a phase. Nearly any nickname was welcomed at this point in her life. She idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absent-mindedly. You were a vegetarian, you were a vegan, you were a pescatarian, you were a proletarian, you were a picky eater, you generally ate whatever. What's a proletarian? You eat poultry only? I don't fucking know. Someone tell me, I'm not cultured. I know pescatarian is fish. I don't know how to know. And the meal you had reflected that. It included just about everything your moms had made, though you often made your own food nowadays. With Liz around, though, your parents made even more options than usual. Your sister had been a vegetarian for a while, and they wanted to make sure she had choices too. Conversation had gone idly, without you fully taking in the words, till your ears were piqued. Ma started a bit of town gossip. Oh, she's got gray in her hair now. This game is so cute. And so that's how I heard the news. All right, now stop burying the lead and tell us. What is this so-called news? Ma giggled and she cast a look around the table, satisfied that she had everyone's attention. Well, it turns out that the Donnells won't be renting out the condo up the street as per Sunset Bird tradition, for the first time in what must nearly be 2 decades. A chorus of gasps and shocked expressions were had all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows pinched. Mom may consider them by name, but you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 cross their paths. Oh, did they die? Oh no! Your ma continued on with the story, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did. They decided not to take any big trips anymore. Friends and family will be visiting them at their home. That's nice for them then. Have a good summer, being grandparents with no grandkids away from us. That's a relief. Yeah, here's the thing about grown-up characters. I can only do so many voices. So they're gonna have the same voices. I'm just saying. That's a relief. It's kind of sad they can't travel anymore. I hope they're still okay, even if they're mean. My thoughts exactly. Finally, they can piss off! I'm not gonna comment. That's where I'm gonna live. Be nice, Liz. You don't want to end up like them, do you? You and your sister cracked smiles at the joke. At least they won't be here to yell at my children anymore. Lonnie! At the blunt comment, you got laughter from all three of you. Engrossed in conversation once more, you continued to chat with your family until the meal was over. Step 3. Third time's charm. As it went, once the food was eaten, the cleanup had to be done. Liz took the role of washing the dishes and passed them to you for drying and putting away. You had a set of cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf of the cabinet. I am not very tall. You had to stretch, but it was doable. I mean, I do struggle to get cups up on the top shelf right now. I don't always need a stepping stool. Sometimes I jump and I like go wee. When you were younger, you had been considered tall. What? When? When in my life? But you stopped growing sooner than others. And now no one would describe you like that anymore. Yeah, I figured I'll get this all recorded, and then when you have your one-on-one, I'll edit one. So I'm not talking. Chris will be like, what is going on? You felt great about how things were. You hoped you might still grow. You wished you had stopped growing earlier. You didn't think much about it. You didn't even know what to think about it. Yeah, I don't really think much about my height, to be honest. That was a struggle for you because you remembered how you used to feel so content about it when you were younger. Liz shook you out of your internal musing by starting an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You think after the first year or two I'd have a handle on things, but no. You stole a glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. I guess it's only fair. My first round was pretty general classes, and year one of my architecture major was the basics. Now it feels serious. I have to actually know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed at the plates held more force than necessary. I know you can handle it. I think it's really cool you want to be an architect. That does sound hard. You simply shrugged. You were merely listening to her venting. Well, I do think it's cool she wants to be an architect, so we're going to go with that. Don't be too impressed yet. Wait to see if it actually happens. But thanks. Your older sister's mouth quirked into a small smile. It'll be fine, one way or another. Oh, but I'm not trying to scare you away from college. If it's even your plan, what is going on with that anyway? You had a solid plan, came to a firm conclusion recently, you had a general idea, you had absolutely no idea. You hadn't let yourself think about it too much. I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, and then I didn't do it. You answered the question as much as you were able and willing to. Liz's smile grew more reassuring as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You've got plenty going for you. Sometimes it still felt hard to believe your public schooling experience was over. In the end, you graduated on top of your class, you soared through with high marks. You had to work extremely hard but were rewarded with great grades. That's me. Yeah, that's me. And you were going to miss it. You were satisfied leaving off there. You wished it could have gone better. You were just glad it was truly behind you. I was pretty satisfied when I left high school. I have never known anyone who is going to miss high school. That's our public school, for that matter. It had been a familiar and fulfilling part of your life, but you were ready to move on. Liz picked up on the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the topic. You're a good girl, French Fires. Do what's best for you, and we'll all be here to back it up. Thanks. You're a good big sister. At that, Liz happily passed the final dish your way. She waved a soapy-soaked hand as a farewell and moved on to her next task for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting the last pieces put back where they belonged. You eventually moved on to a new chore, but that was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. It was your phone's digital ringtone. You had used a silly novelty song as a ringtone. You set one of your most beloved songs as your ringtone. The phone was just set to vibrate. Well, usually I do a novelty song if it's not on vibrate, so let's go with that. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday present from your parents. They decided which model to get, but you got to pick the color. It was silver, black, gold, rose gold, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, bitches! Pink or turquoise? Probably pink, because my mom likes blue and I don't want to get it confused with her cell phone, so we're going to go pink. It was just a phone. You didn't do anything to decorate. No. Do you guys see my phone right now? It's in this case. It's got a little lime wedge. Like, fuck yeah, bitches. That's how I roll. Whoa, what's my charm? Oh, my shark keychain! Bro, I don't need to read any of these. Like, let's go. My shark keychain. You were pleased when you finally had a prominent place to use the gift. Screen lit up as you gave the little device a swipe with your finger. You were informed by caller ID that it was Lee. You weren't surprised. Despite having busier and busier lives and not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin of the same age. Especially once the miracle of the both of you having your own phones actually happened. She got hers first, though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar, bubbly voice came through right after. Oh, look! I love how they age people up! This is so cute! Oh, the little shark! Oh. Hey, French fires. What's up? What's up? I trust I'm not interrupting anything major. Only some cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. A distraction from that must have been desperately needed. Yes, thank you, my dear cousin. Hey, I love doing chores, you joked. I like cleaning, you protested earnestly. I do not like cleaning. It's good to hear from you. Even though she couldn't see it, you shook your head at that. I would probably say yes, thank you, my dear cousin, because I do tease my cousins, and anytime they're out... Okay, so I have a lot of cousins. Let me just preface this. My dad is the oldest of 13, so my family is gigantical. And whenever my cousins come to visit, or I send them a gift, or I send them a text or whatever, I'm like, from your favorite cousin? Which is totally not a true statement, but I do it anyways. She giggled, and you could hear the jangling of the jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. Woo! Well, that's good. You were off from your part-time job today. You hadn't started working anywhere yet, so you couldn't relate. I didn't work the summer after I graduated high school. I didn't get a job until I was doing the life of Noisy Face. Like you, Lee had started dipping her toes into the workforce as of late. It made keeping in touch frequently even more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal. That's you then. So, how's Mr. Cove Holden doing? You know what, Lee? You're a gossipy bitch. I like it. There was a teasing bent to her tone. She was never willing to let up on what was going on between the two of you. But that name was incredibly familiar to your ears. Cove, your next-door neighbor for the past decade at this point. Two of you were ... close. That was all you could think. He was your best friend. At least you hadn't admitted you felt more than that yet. He was an important friend, but you secretly hoped he felt more than that. That is kind of where I'm at in the game, but let's see what my other options are. He was someone you had affection for, but you didn't want to take the relationship further. He was far more than just someone who lived on the same street. He was your boyfriend. Well, I haven't asked him, and he hasn't asked me, so that's not how shit works. Hope was still very special to you. You could only dream that it was mutual. You knew you wouldn't be able to tell him that, though. Maybe he would take the plunge. Are you even surviving without the boy being 10 feet away at all times? Or is everything right in the world again and he's back? No, Lee, he isn't here. Just like he wasn't here yesterday, or the last time you asked, or the time before that. Aw, my bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, I want to visit soon, and he needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. For the past couple months, and the last few weeks especially, Cove had been going to his mom's place in Nevada. The two of you still regularly stayed in contact over text and calls, but still, your mind began to drift back in time to all the prior trips he'd taken to visit her. Almost every year he'd have to go away for a while, and then he'd be back. Made you sad and lonely when that happened. You never minded it. It was kind of have nice breaks away. You weren't a fan, but you made do. It was shitty. I'm gonna go with you weren't a fan, but you made do. You sent him letters. That is something I would do. Mom's helped you ship out care packages to him and his mom. That is also something I would do. Gave him special treasures to take with him before he left. Kept an eye on his house for him. Well, why am I? Doesn't Mr. Holden live there? I mean, Mr. Holden is obviously a choice to say that you have a crush on, so, you know. Incapable of doing anything until he was back. Well, I just washed some dishes, so no, bitch! It was always full of really great stuff. He sent you regular letters in return. It's just like... It's like a box of shells. I sent him. Oh my god. That's how it was in the past. But lately, he had been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became too impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Cove hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plans were after graduation. He was hesitant to speak on that, even with you. It couldn't be avoided forever, though, and you both knew that. Maybe we should switch this up to a non-Cove-related topic. That works. The rest of the conversation rolled on. Not much longer, though. Lee had to go, and you needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes. Then you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came. Oh, look at her hat! She's so cute! As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Want to get out of this tiny town and do some shopping in the real city? Yeah, it's been way too long since I've gone anywhere exciting. Good, I'm driving. That was obvious you didn't know how to drive. You were glad for that. You still just had a learner's permit. Even though I could drive too, it was her plan. She could do it if she wanted. Yeah, you had a license but tried to avoid driving when possible. That's me. I don't like to drive a lot of places, but I will do it. I'm an adult, but I have to. So get your wallet and everything else. We're going now. With a nod, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from your bedroom. You had money saved up from gifts you received. After making sure you both were fully prepared for the long haul to the largest city in the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, with light conversation about what shops to stop at and the radio blasting. The trip there breezed by, and in what felt like no time, you had gone from cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. Liz had her interests to check out, and you yours. Your hobbies and skills were still the ones you developed when you were younger. You had gotten into new things since you'd grown up. I mean, they're pretty similar. I have gotten some new things, but not all new things. So I'm going to go with this top one. That seems fair. When turning a corner down a new length of the mall, your eyes caught on a little gift store. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating high school. You wanted to give a graduation gift yourself to Cove. You had a gift of your own ready to give to Cove. When the chance came, you really appreciated what you had gotten. Well, this bottom one, because you should always be appreciative of gifts you get. But I would probably say if he's away and I haven't already sent it in the care package, I would buy him a gift. So let's go with that. Graduation may have already come and gone. Cove wasn't really around then anyway. You keep an eye out for something good, though you might have something nice for him at home already. Can I give him the orange shell now? Can I do that? That'd be super cute. Eventually, the mall was explored in full, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, you decided to walk over to some smaller stores nearby. Liz had many thoughts on that topic. Honestly, malls are not a bastion of society. Even if smaller stores require extra distance, the brands are so much more. Then your sister abruptly stopped speaking and walking right in the middle of the path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut off for a moment. Liz? It better not be fucking Jeremy. I'm gonna be so mad if this is Jeremy. The attempt to catch her attention was unsuccessful. Something else had all her focus. Before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. French fires. Don't draw attention, but look. What? With a harsh whisper and a subtle jerk of her head, she urged you once more. Look! Followed her gaze as best as you could to a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path. Okay. Face back over to your sister with a confused expression and an unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there? French fires? Doesn't one of them seem familiar? She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked the group over again. This time you saw what she was seeing. Amongst the collection of strangers was brown hair, gray eyes, and lots of freckles. Is it Shilo? Has my Shilo come home to me? Shilo! Our Shilo! From when we were kids. Yep, that was definitely him. I can't believe it. He's honestly just there. That's hilarious. That's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We have to pull him away from all those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Just like shout his name. Oi! Shilo! That's not awkward at all. Your mouth opened to reply, but she cut it off with her own answer to the question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shilo. Yay! I got it. I'll shout the name Shilo, and then we can act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know without a doubt it's him. French fires. Keep an eye out and see if he looks. Liz, why can't you just try talking normally? No. I'm the one who suggested this, bish. We're not doing that. Nope. Why do I have to be the one who watches? Let's try it. Yeah, I'm all on fucking board with this plan. Likely without even hearing what you had to say, Liz put her plan into action. Oh! source of entertainment. She loudly projected the word across the way, and then put on an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene while brushing at the skirt of her dress. In a supremely awkward moment, you could only stand there as attention in the area shifted to the two of you, thanks to your sister's shout. But of the many startled bystanders who became altered in your presence, one of them was the boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. He looked. A wide grin over Liz's face. Oh, it's took over. A wide grin over Liz's face. She pushed the rim of her sun hat up and away from her face while swishing back around to greet her old friend directly. Shilo! Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet. Without really closing the gap, she wanted him to come to her. Who you presume to be Shilo looked surprised at the call-out. He stole a quick glance at the crowd he was with and hesitantly glanced back your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze trained on him, and ultimately, he broke away from the rest of them. After a light-footed jog across the brick path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of Liz and you. Oh, that voice is perfect. He's still all like giddy. Hi, I like your hat. Just that simple greeting had Liz giggling. Hello. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I'm Lizzie, and that's French Fires. We were all friends when we were little kids. Oh, he's legitimately shocked right now. His already wide eyes grew even larger, their gaze darting between you and Liz. His previously chipper demeanor faded into something delicate. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge. Still, Liz was undeterred. It was a long time ago. You were really young. I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positively right. You're exactly the same. The face, the freckles. Genially, you try to phrase things. You're even still wearing a hat. Yes, because as people grow up, they never stop wearing hats. Great deductions, Elizabeth! Instinctively, he looked up at his headwear and with creased brows, not making the connection on why the hat meant something to her. We knew each other, okay? An uneasy smile settled on him as the silence followed Liz's speech. He was picking his next words carefully. And then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice bursting into the conversation. I don't know who this is, so we're just gonna read this. Shilo, what are you doing? Oh, you fucking liar! Don't lie to me! The rest of the group already left. A field trip is not a vacation. We're on a schedule. Startled, your head snapped towards the path. A distinctly unhappy individual with piercing magenta eyes, dark brown skin, and a sharp jaw stormed your way. He carried a cloud of authority with him, despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to ditch. Shilo, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add to the explanation of his absence as the stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized me as someone they knew, but it was a tiny misunderstanding. Liz theoretically as well was literally... Oh, okay. Liz theoretically as well as literally put her foot down at that, stomping in frustration and getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion. We do know you. Shilo merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was pained. Sorry. You honestly couldn't tell if he was apologizing for the upset feeling of your sister or the palpable dissatisfaction of his new acquaintance. That in itself was very Shilo-like. Oh, you know him? Is that it? The stranger spoke in a dismissively scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him it was almost amusing. Almost. But the sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated itself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you. I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Shiloh's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you had any importance in his general day-to-day existence, it would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any trivial connection you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us, and you'll survive without him. Now stop loitering the road. It's rude. You're rude! Goddamn! Well, is that his girlfriend? That's why he doesn't want to introduce us? Is that who it is?
Excuse me?
Yeah. Excuse me? We are the rude ones? The high-strung ranting got an audible gasp from Shilo, who finally started to speak up in his defense. Nate, that's really mean. Oh no, it's Nate. It's also true. We're leaving. With that declaration, the unofficially introduced Nate indignantly spun on his heels and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shilo would follow behind. Oh, people sure can have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try to get along? It's not hard. Don't worry, though. I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry I can't stay and talk to you, but I hope you have a really nice life. What a trash human. And that was it. His final parting words given, Shilo left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life that he had to go on and live. Liz watched his exit, stunned, only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone, quickly as he appeared. It happened so fast you hadn't even been able to give a word in. She sighed, all the energy she built up releasing with a breath. I could have told him his last name was Fields. His birthday is October 30th. That would have proved it. But no. Sorry, Liz. Wow, Shilo grew up to be dumb. You were left feeling equally deflated. Whoever Nate is, he sucks. Well, damn. I would probably be like, well, damn. Where to go with that? You had no other words for what had just unfolded. Why aren't you running after him? Liz merely shook her head, pushing off childish thoughts. I think we can leave it there, thanks. He's in the middle of high school field trip. It was already enough being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there, enjoying his own part of the world. Though, if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. She laughed. You could tell there wasn't much humor to it. She was mad at the guy, even if she was happy to let Shilo go. Maybe they're only with each other because of the trip, and it's not usually how things are. True. You can only hope the same for him as he did for us. Have a nice life, Shilo. Have a good life. Bye, Shilo. We'll miss you. Good luck out there. You'll need it. You didn't say anything. Yeah, I don't like any of these options, so I'm just gonna not say anything. Liz smiled at you. It had the self-confidence you knew so well from her. Come on, little baby sister. Let's finish our own trip. Yeah. No matter how either of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you simply had to accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing until it was time to return home. By the time you arrived back, the sun was already beginning to set. You arched your back as you stretched your arms towards the ceiling. While it had been a good day, it had enough activity to cover an entire week. Liz tried to hide a yawn behind her hands. You weren't the only one feeling worn out. I'll be heading up to your room, the guest room, since mine stopped being available as soon as I was out the door. Her tone was light. She'd had quite a lot to say on the subject when you'd first taken over her bigger room after she left for college. There had been many trips back home for her since then. Oh no, will Cove get the windows confused? Someone tell me! The room hadn't been hers for years. It was more of a running joke now that she continued to bring up the topic to this day. Let it go, Liz. I don't see your name on it. Thank you, Liz. It's a really nice room. Thanks for being so gracious about giving it up. Just wanted to follow in my big sister's shoes. I'm sorry. I would probably just be like, thanks, Liz. It's a nice room. I'm a little sassy. Hey, don't actually sound appreciative. It's playing dirty. A small laugh was shared between you and your older sister. You better believe you'll be back in that guest room when you've got your own place, and we're both in town for a visit. We can take turns. You'll have Thanksgiving, I'll get Christmas. Sure. Don't count on it. It's alright with me, I don't need it. I'd probably be like, we could take turns. What a reasonable and mature suggestion. I'll think about accepting it. She flashed her familiar grin, and you couldn't help but feel glad she was back around, even if it was temporary. With that, she plodded off to the spare room. You were ready to do the same. Moving into a new space was your first opportunity to decorate from scratch. Oh, I gotta design my room! This isn't gonna take 4 hours. Blue, green, purple. Ooh. I like it a purple one. Yeah. I like it a purple one. What do I get? Flower pot or these candles? It's flower pot. I do have a lot of clutter, so let's just do that. Oh, shark poster, bro. Oh, that's super busy. I don't like that. Oh, wow, this has a lot. Okay, wait. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go with the sweet shark poster. Oh, little stringy lights. Fuck yeah, bro. What do I get? This? Oh, that's an awkward table. No, none of that. Oh, a guitar! I cannot play guitar. A telescope. Should I have just a guitar in there that I can't play? Great. I don't like that plant. That plant is hideous. Get out of here, plant. Alright, there we go. That is my room. It is gorgeous. You're really satisfied with the feel of your tiny part of the world. As your thoughts drifted, you tried to bite down another yawn. This was no good. Your bed was now launched in your mind, and all you could think about was collapsing on it. You trudged upstairs to your room. Stepping inside, you closed the door behind you, blocking the rest of the house. When you turned back around, you realized you were not alone there. What did I just say? What did I just say, bitches? Naturally perched on the windowsill was someone very familiar to you. Oh my god! Wow! Cove Holden. Shock knocked all words out of you. What the hell? Huh? How are you here? Oh man, well it would be between what the hell and how are you here? And if he's just sitting there, as he do, it's probably gonna be what the hell? What the hell? Surprise? His tone was easy and relaxed. It certainly was a surprise. You hadn't expected him to be within the state, never mind your own house. He hadn't answered how he'd suddenly just appeared back in Sunset Bird. Though to be fair, you had been so astonished there hadn't been much of an opportunity for him to chat with you. Thankfully, Cove was only waiting for a good moment to start and began to explain. I got in about 15 minutes ago. No one was home, so I'd figure I'd come in the usual way. The window. A small smile formed on his face. You were still staring at him, unable to blink in case he disappeared. You could barely believe that he was really there, mere feet away from you. I left my bags in your backyard. I hope that's all right. That was when you truly understood. Cove had come straight to you upon getting back to town. You were his first port of call, taking precedence above all else. Kind of a big deal, just saying. Even though you hadn't been in when he called, Cove had ensured that he'd see you at the earliest opportunity, rather than allowing his plans to change. You laughed. The realization made you bashful, yeah, probably. You shook your head at his antics, stayed frozen in shock, walked over to join him, you ran to Cove. I'm gonna be bashful. That's what I'm gonna do. It wasn't news that you were special to Cove, but the way he prioritized you above everything else was something that flustered you. Cove dropped from his seat in the windowsill, landing lightly on his feet. He made his way over to you, the smile still resting on his face. You're too crazy. I'm glad you're here. I missed you. Trouble's back in time. I can't believe my eyes. It's the most amazing man in the world. Oh, I didn't say anything. I'd probably just go with this middle of the road. I missed you. Missed you. Ruffled his hair, jovially punched his arm. I would do that. Wrapped him up in a gentle embrace. Pulled him into a bone-crushing hug. I would also do that. Oh! Jump in his arms, bitches. Surprise! Excuse me! You reached out toward him in motion. Your intentions clear. Cove opened up his stance in preparation, his face already getting red. Once close enough, you leaped up into his chest and wrapped your arms around his neck. With a small stumble back, he caught you and held you. With a small stumble back, he caught you and held on by tucking his arm over your lower back. Taking your shoulder for a pillow, he laid his cheek against you. I missed you too. Even if he hadn't said it outright, you would have gotten the message from his body language. Cove was grinning widely, his raised cheeks burying his eyes, which gleamed like hidden gems. But he looked at you as if you were the most exciting treasure of all. Obviously. Was the trip any good? Yeah, I had a great time. Cove told you about how his trip back had gone. His mom was doing really well. She had a projection in the works and she was thrilled about it. As a result, Cove was going to be sticking around in Sunset Bird for the time being. Things were settled as much as they ever could be. With Cove back once more, you felt at ease. Cove stretched his arms out over his head and dropped you on the floor because he was still holding you. That's not... His eyes on the window and the world beyond. The sun had set while you had been busy reuniting. I should probably get my stuff and see Dad. He glanced over to you with a familiar, expectant look. Wanna come with me? You know I do. No, but I'll walk you downstairs. Sure, I could go over for a little while. Like, that's probably what I'd be like. Sure, like, I could come over there. Don't inconvenience me or anything. Check out my sweet shark poster I put up there. Cove began to head to your bedroom door. I am glad that the VA for this is not like a super deep voice. It is kind of that higher resonance. That makes me feel a little bit better about my weird voices here. Cove began to head to your bedroom door. Followed I'm a motherfucking piggyback ride, bitch! It was a special occasion. It was a special occasion. Wait up, you being back is a big deal. We have to commemorate it properly. Cove turned, confused. I need you to give me a ride to celebrate. Cove didn't say anything, his eyebrows raised in disbelief. Really, French fries? You want me to carry you downstairs? You nodded. Cove rolled his eyes, but he bent down so you could clamber on his back. Even while he was crouched down, Cove's back was a steep peak for you. After a couple of unsuccessful attempts of you trying to jump up there, Cove squatted down a bit lower. He wobbled as he straightened up, not terribly accustomed to balancing someone on his shoulders. He carried you downstairs. You had to duck a couple of times. The ceiling grazed against your elevated head. Still, you safely reached the ground floor of your house. Door's gonna be in the way. Get off here so I can open it up. He bent down to let you slide safely off his back. Seeing things from your usual height was disoriented after getting accustomed to looking down at everything. In all the excitement of Cove's return, you hadn't remembered the gift you prepared for when he got back. It would be best to give it to him now, before he left your house. Can you wait here for a little while? I got something for you. Seriously, French fries? I just carried you down these stairs! Cove's eyes widened as he tried to conceal a smile. He toyed with the collar of his top. Really? I mean, you didn't have to do that. You nodded with some eagerness, trying to imagine how he'd react when he actually saw it. Bought Cove something special. The gift you'd chosen hadn't been something you could buy. Well, I have been like an artiste or like songwriting, so maybe it would be that. Like maybe I made him something. I'm gonna go with that. It was... Oh, the orange shell or the poppy. I just said, can I give him the orange shell? So that's what I'm gonna do, bitches. That's how I roll. Nostalgia. You quickly went up to your room to collect the shell, knowing exactly where to find it. It had been housed in the same box since you were a little kid after all. Taking great care, you extracted it from the case. Though it had been a long time since you'd taken it out, the grooves were as familiar to your fingertips as the opening line of your favorite song was to your ears. Cove had admired the shell ever since he first saw it, declaring it to be the best of all your treasures. Despite that, he'd never accepted your offers to take it. You hoped that might change tonight. You closed your hand around the shell, not wanting Cove to see it until you were ready, and headed downstairs. When you were back in front of Cove, you cautiously lifted your arm up. He looked on curiously as you unfurled your fingers to show him the gift. Please take it, or I'll have to smuggle it into your house. I really want you to have it. That is totally something I would say, though. Cove stared down at the familiar shell nestled in your palm. His mouth parted, though no words came out. He drew his eyes up to meet yours silently, and found the answer to whatever question he couldn't speak. He put his hand over yours and broke the silence. Okay. It was as quiet as a whisper. His fingers were as gentle as his words. Brushing against your palm, he took the shell from your grasp, cradled it carefully against his chest, and smiled at you, his eyes bright. I'll keep it forever. Cove reverently laid the gift safely on the counter, but he didn't turn back to face you once he had ensured it was secure. Though his face was angled away from you, you caught his eyelashes fluttering as if batting away tears. His throat bobbed and he swallowed, bubbling emotions. You knew that Cove could be sentimental. The gift and all the memories and feelings tied up in it seemed to have taken a toll on him. Why are you laughing? Ah. When he began to sniffle, you felt the need to reach out. Yeah, he's like fucking Brendan Fraser in the Bedazzled, where he's trying to be the sensitive man, and he's like, "What is that darn thing gonna say already?" Cove? I can't. Just French fires. I don't know what to do. He forcefully scrubbed at his eyes like he was trying to push the tears that threatened to spill back in. Cove, it's okay. You need to cry? No. Nevertheless, Tears began to spill down his cheeks. Even as he wiped them away, more took their place. "Thank you." His voice quavered as he spoke. Cove scooped you into a hug, pressing you so tightly against his chest that your breath escaped in a short squeak. He burrowed his face against your neck, his shed tears damp on your skin. You hugged him back. "Welcome, don't worry about it. You're such a crybaby." You didn't need any words. I would probably say, like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to call him a crybaby. That's mean. Cove let out a steady breath. It was far removed from the shaky gasps that had accompanied his sniffles, and the tears had dried. His eyes were a little red, but open and at peace once again. He smiled, fully recovered from the emotion that had overcome him. "You're really, seriously too nice to me." You smiled back. "You have no right to call anybody else too nice." Cove brushed his hand against the pale ghost of a scar on his arm. He was at a loss for what to do now. The clock ticked away, counting the seconds of silence. Once you'd had a chance to settle your thoughts, you figured you'd tell Cove the intriguing news. "Well, I have to tell you! You're never going to guess who I saw today." You didn't give Cove a chance to reply. There seriously was no way he'd figure it out. "Shilo!" "Shilo?" Cove repeated the name, his expression blank. "From when we were kids?" Cove pondered for a moment, then snapped his fingers. "Oh, he was the freckled boy from the first summer, right? The one who moved?" The guy was named Shilo, and he looked just like Shilo from back then. He was even wearing a hat still. But he had no idea who I was, and he ran off somewhere." Cove frowned. "That's, I don't know. Too bad I missed it. Though you knew him better than I did." It was definitely true. Not only had Cove known Shilo for a shorter period of time, but he and Shilo had never quite gotten along. Not that they were enemies either, just kids who were only ever together because of the people they both knew. "I wonder what Shilo's up to these days." "I don't have any idea. He didn't say much." "Oh, well." That was everything you had on the news item, so you moved on to the next big update. "Also, you know the mean old neighbors? The ones who would always yell at us?" He cringed, recalling those particular memories back in the day was not pleasant even for someone as nostalgic as him. "Yeah." "They're not coming. They didn't rent the condo this summer." Cove's jaw dropped. He didn't blame him. The elderly couple had been an institution as far back as you could remember, long predating Cove's arrival. Even now, as a teenager, you found your neck prickling as you walked by their condo, half expecting a scolding for breathing the wrong way in the vicinity of their vacation home. It was strange to think of that coming to an end. Wow. Cove blinked, clearly struggling with the idea in the same way that you had. "I didn't see that coming. People being gone, people coming back. Feels like I missed a lot. This has been a busy summer already." "Well, you haven't missed the fireflies. They haven't shown up yet." "Well, that's something. And we better not get left behind. There's still stuff to do." You nodded. As soon as you'd left your house, Cove bent down to let you climb back on his back for the last part of the journey. It seemed that no sooner had the night begun than it was already at end, and the dawn of a new day was soon upon you. The next morning your belly was full of breakfast, and you were in a pleasant mood. You hoped the rest of the day followed suit. Later, you were meeting up with your friends, Cove, Miranda, and Terry, to go into town. It was all on short notice, but that was because everyone was just so excited that Cove was finally back home. "Having a nice daydream?" You blinked. pushing all your thoughts away and returning to reality. Your mom was watching you with a teasing smile. So, what's on the agenda today? I'm meeting up with some people. Well, I hope you and your friends have fun. Don't get into too much trouble. She winked at you. You knew both of your moms wanted you to enjoy every bit of summer before all the changes started. I'll try. But before you go gallivanting around town, could you bring the mail in? I finished up putting the dishes away over there. All right. Thank you very much. As soon as you were outside your front door, you couldn't help but see Cove and his dad standing around in the road. They noticed you too. Like, Mr. Holden doesn't really change. He just changes his hairstyle and, like, his shirts. Hi. Good timing. You should come join us. You waved to him, you hugged him, you gave him a high five, you gave him a noogie. You ruffled his hair. Cove or Mr. Holden? Because I kind of want to give Mr. Holden a noogie. Let's find out. In a flash, you grabbed the collar of his shirt and pulled him down to your level. He pulled away from you quickly, but you still got in a good noogie, leaving his hair sticking out in funny places. Oh, it was Cove! Damn it! Oh well, decisions were made! Didn't quite meet your eye while he pouted in an attempt to fix his hair. Chuckling, you watched as he exhaled his embarrassment away. You noticed Mr. Holden was taking in the scene of you and Cove with a self-satisfied smile. Cove followed your line of sight and shot his dad an unimpressed look. Mr. Holden seemed like he had a thought dancing on the tip of his tongue. He decided to keep it to himself. So, what are you up to today, brah? Me and Cove are gonna meet some friends later. Cove and I! We're gonna paint the town red. Exciting. They won't know what hit him, brah. Cove shook his head disapprovingly, but you knew him well enough to tell that he was entertained by your notion. Yawning, Mr. Holden stretched his arm over his head. Oh boy, I've just been waiting around to see what the new neighbors are like, brah. It was definitely his idea. I don't know how you're not interested in this, brah. It's big news. Besides, it'd only be polite to greet the new folks in town. Maybe it'll be a single dad and his son. You've been here too long if seeing a new person rent a condo is what you consider exciting. I'm dying to see the development. Your response was a shrug. I don't want to meet them. Well, anyone has to be better than the last tenants. That's mean. I'm going to go with this you've been here too long statement. That's what I'm going to go with. For several moments, Mr. Holden was unable to answer. He was laughing and slightly shaking his head. You might be on to something, brah. Cove put a reassuring hand on his dad's shoulder. You can still make the most of your life before it's too late. How old do you think I am, brah? I'm not that... Oh, well, okay, maybe I am. Mr. Holden took one more glance at the currently vacant building and sighed dramatically. When he turned back to you and Cove, his whole body seemed deflated. No sign of them, brah. And I'll need to head over to work soon. Cove gave his dad a few reassuring pats on the back. Okay, I promise to keep an eye out. I can text you if anything happens. Really, brah? Of course. Well, I mean, only until I have to meet up with Terry and Miranda. Well, would that still work? With a wide grin breaking out on his face, Mr. Holt looked absolutely thrilled to have his nosiness enabled. That works, brah. He moved to firmly place both hands over Cove's shoulders, fixing his child with a firm stare. Son, you are truly my ally in this world, brah. Mr. Holden stood up straighter, letting Cove go. He looked reinvigorated. Okay, with that settled, I'll go make some money. It's always been the one thing I do best, brah. Mr. Holden headed off to the garage with a big wave goodbye. Cove smiled the whole time, and you both watched his dad leave. You liked Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden was one of your favorite people. Cove's dad was a bother. You had mixed feelings on Mr. Holden. He is one of my favorite people to do the voice for, so we're going to go with that. He always tried his best and was honestly just great. As soon as he was out of sight, Cove sighed lightly. Are you okay? Just not looking forward to waiting. Guess I'll be hanging around the street for a while. Good luck. See you later. Bye! I'll stick around. I want to see the new neighbor. I can wait with you. Why don't I stay to see the new neighbor and keep you company? I'd probably say this bottom one, so I'm going to go with that. Curiosity about the new tenant was getting the better of you, and you figured that the wait wouldn't be too much longer. And besides, you couldn't leave Cove. Really? Of course. I'll keep you company, remember? He stared at you a moment, smiling softly and thinking about his response. I like that too. Cove put his hand on your shoulders, gripping you solidly, but not enough to hurt. His eyes fixated on you just as firmly. He was serious. French fries, you're my true ally in this world. Brah! Got a fair amount of chuckles from you. He grinned, the stoicism fading into amusement. You're always good to me. You're lucky to have me. That's no problem. I can't help myself. You laughed, you shook your head, you simply shrugged. Like, you're lucky. You're lucky. Teasingly, Cove raised an eyebrow. You're the most lucky guy in all of Sunset Bird. Luckiest. For a moment, you weren't sure if Cove was laughing at your declaration, or that you momentarily forgot the word luckiest. Either way, you didn't mind. The smile on his face reached his eyes, and it made you feel electric. And then he let you go. Cove stepped over to his front porch steps, lazily taking a seat and leaning back on his arms. Our watch begins. Nodding in agreement, you joined Cove on the front porch steps. Both sat there in a comfortable familiarity as you settled in for the waiting game of the new tenants. The neighborhood was quiet, and you sighed contentedly, closing your eyes and feeling the light breeze. Eventually, you both perked up at the sound of a car. A taxi followed the noise, turning onto your street. Cove's eyebrows raised at the sight, and he sat up straight on the stoop. This has to be them, right? The only people who come out here live here. It has to be. Now that they were here, you couldn't help but feel curious. You wondered what kind of person would be living in the neighborhood for the summer. The taxi pulled to a stop as you exited in front of the new empty condo. It was on the same side of the street as your house, a few buildings further up. Without getting to his feet, Cove tried leaning and tilting his head to get a view of the passenger door as it opened. The single occupant exited the cab. Huh? You could feel what Cove was in that moment. After the last renters, this new visitor was definitely not exactly what you had expected. Oh, it's Baxter, bitches! It was a young man. He had to be close to your own age. He was dressed fully in an eclectic black, white, and gray outfit. Even his side-swooping hair matched the scheme. The only other pop of color was from something that couldn't easily be fashioned into submission. A pair of dark brown eyes, which you caught when he looked over at his audience. Alright, so I talked to REMaster870 about this and Baxter's voice, and Baxter is going to have the only other accent I can relatively fake, and I'm truly sorry in advance for this ridiculousness. Hello, folks. Who might you be? We're the neighbors. The smile, already prominent on his face, curled further. It was cocky, but you didn't get the impression that it meant anything at first. Hallelujah! You and Cove shared a familiar look with one another, bewildered even further. The color-coordinated man left it there. However, with a firm click, he shut the door of his ride. Then he turned back to you to retrieve a large, unsurprisingly, black suitcase out of the trunk. Continuing on with his own business, he strode He strolled forward and lightly tapped on the driver's side window with his knuckles, asking them to roll it down. When it opened, he leaned down and rested his arm on the edge. You assumed he was thanking the driver for getting him there, considering he slipped them a tip during the brief chat. They shook hands, and then he pushed himself up and away from the taxi with both arms, giving the driver room to leave. The taxi pulled away, rolling carefully down the road and out of sight around the corner. The new renter had officially arrived. He left his suitcase on the ground, out of the way of the street, and sauntered over your way with the confidence of someone who had been invited to join. He's got like 50 million rings, man. He's got like 5 fucking rings. Cole finally stood up to greet this person and followed suit.
Excellent.
Why is his voice like, excellent? Are you saying excellent because I'm saying excellent? Excellent. I'm Baxter Ward. Baxter Ward. It's excellent to meet you, neighbors. You were standing on the side he was approaching from. When Baxter got close enough, he offered his hand to you first. Shook it, you offered a low high five. You held your arms open for a hug. What kind of monster are you? No, like shake his hand. Baxter gripped your hand firmly to give a satisfying shake. Welcome to Sunset Bird, Baxter. I'm French Fires. Hey, baby doll. I'm quite keen on getting to know you better this summer. We could be good friends. I also decided he's never going to say my name. He's just going to say baby doll. From your other side, Cove made a sudden sputtering noise. And you are? He lifted his hand out to Cove next. Cove shook his hand, still eyeing Baxter carefully. I'm Cove. Baxter's whole demeanor lit up for unknown reasons. His eyes shone as he studied Cove a moment.
Really?
Now wait, is that your nickname or is that your real name? It's just my name. Cove spoke mildly, having given that explanation many times in the past, but it clearly charmed Baxter all the same. He tossed his head to one side with a laugh. Your parents knew exactly what they were doing. I can't imagine a more fitting name for the face I'm seeing. Cove, that's gorgeous. It's really not. No, I agree, it suits you. Hey, only I get to fluster him. That's a lot considering you're talking to a stranger, Baxter. You didn't know what to say. He's got like rips in his jeans. He's got the rips in his jeans. The whole club was looking at Baxter. Then he got low. Shorty got low. Like, I don't know what to say here. I'm just gonna go with that. After a noticeable pause, Baxter caught that he made you both uncomfortable.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. It wasn't intended. I'm sorry, it wasn't intended to mean more than it did. I like your name, but you don't have to mind that. I'm patiently against stepping on anyone's toes. He chuckled to himself. It seemed like there was some extra meaning hidden behind there in his words, and you noticed that Cove raised an eyebrow, picking up on that too. Baxter didn't even open his eyes to see your faces to know that he had some filling to do. He stood up straighter, striking a pose with the position on his feet. I'm a ballroom dancer, hence the phrasing. Oh, I don't know much about dancing, but that's pretty cool. No shit, Sherlock, you don't! Running off on our date all willy-nilly and crap. Maybe I'll go on a date with Baxter. What about that? You like them apples? You like them apples, Cove? Not hard once you get the basics down. Cove didn't look convinced at all. Baxter took that as a cue to keep talking. Well, he grinned in a way that was rapidly becoming familiar to you. If either you looking for a partner, I'm available. He totally just like, That's what he would do. Like, hey, I'm Baxter. Baxter one. Ballroom dancer and fashion aficionado extraordinaire. Get you in touch with my hair guy. Cove frowned over the forwardness. Thanks. I'll pass, I think. I'll take you up on that offer sometime. I'd rather not. I could probably show you some moves. You didn't answer. Like, yeah, let's rub it in. Let's rub it in. Be fun. I look forward to that then. After that, there was a lull in conversation, and Cove attempted to fill in. What made you decide on Sunset Bird? Oh, yeah. Well, my parents rented a condo, so I had a place to stay while I'm off for a semester from college, not living in the dorms. There was a playful glint in Baxter's eyes as he continued. Ideally, they wanted to send me somewhere that wasn't too exciting. But luckily for me, they picked the wrong street, considering the two of you live here. Cove was practically reeling over how Baxter found a way to fit comments like that into every single topic thus far. Why do you keep doing that? You don't know us, but you talk like you already do. Cove spoke, firm, yet genuinely confused, and Baxter smiled cautiously. I don't feel the need to keep words of praise to myself. When I say something, I mean it. Plus, what's the point of spending my off semester alone? The best part of being somewhere new is getting to interact with new people. And I'm honestly the first person who's acknowledged. You're attractive and intriguing people? True, you're hidden away in a tiny town, in a tiny tourist trap, but still. Baxter crossed his arms. After studying your faces a few more seconds, he decided to continue. Am I only trying to score a hookup or get a romantic fling started by saying these things? Yes. That's not what he said, but that would be great if he did. No. That isn't the point of speaking well to others. I was raised better than that. Oh, would I be fussed if that's what my words led to? Also, no. Well, if either you are free, I'd be thrilled to hang out this summer. But we can save the schedule talk for later. Getting my things inside. He gave a small nod of his head and flashed you both a dazzling smile. Goodbye for today. Bye. Cove gave a small wave as well. Bye! Baxter then turned on his heels and strolled back to his suitcase, picking it up and bringing it into his condo. You and Cove were silent as Baxter unlocked the door and disappeared inside the house. With him completely out of scene, Cove let out a long breath. I don't know how I'm going to explain this guy to my dad. He burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation. So, you like it when people say that sort of stuff about people? It's okay to do? Never mind. Asking for a friend. Not me. At least the job is done. Saw the new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda. Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. You were looking forward to seeing more of him. You thought he was charming. You were not interested in him. You weren't sure how to feel. You thought he gave a pretty bad first impression. You decided he definitely wasn't someone you liked. I mean, he is pretty charming. We're gonna go with that. You really weren't sure when, but at some point, Baxter won you over. You were curious to get to know him better. Laughing quietly, you wondered how Baxter would fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all thoughts of Baxter aside. You both started making your way towards town. A little while later, You and Cove reached a main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking. What's wrong? I think I heard my phone. You dug your cell phone out and looked at it with a satisfied grin. There was a new message. Before you could read it, you were distracted by a small, amused noise from Cove. His head was slightly tilted to the side as he carefully looked at your old keychain. I can't believe you still have that. Of course I do, I love it. You shouldn't be surprised. Well, someone is crazy enough to get it for me, so I may as well use it. I would say that. I would say that genuinely. You grinned, looking at the keychain fondly. He laughed, remembering the day he bought it for you. I'm actually glad you like it. He looked back at you with a playful grin. Especially since it cost me $6 whole. That's like $30,000 in kid money. I didn't say 30,000. It just says 30, but it's 30,000. His matter-of-fact tone had you laughing. It took several moments to compose yourself enough to speak. I didn't realize that was the going rate. It was then. Probably be more now. So, you're trying to say that you're a big spender? In kid money, yeah. I was definitely a high roller, remember? That had you both bursting into fits. Smiling, you refocused on the task at hand. You opened the new text from Miranda, and all you saw was, I can see you. Immediately from where you stood, you started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. Ha! I see you looking. Where are you? Aha, come on. Really, Randy? Oh, I get to choose! I was confused here. I thought I sent her all of those. Probably go with really, Randy. The message was sent, and you were back to looking around, scanning for any sign of movement and familiar faces, but they were still invisible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. Miranda! Oi! Shilo! Miranda, come on out. You sighed at the ridiculousness. You burst into laughter at her antics. You sent your own joking text. I would probably text her. If you want to keep hiding, Cove and I can just go do our own stuff without you, is what you decided on. You smirked, hitting send on that message. Cove looked at you curious, raising an eyebrow. What's happening? Before you could begin explaining anything to Cove, you both snapped your attention to the yelling from across the street. And there you saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of a grocery store. They both started waving wildly to draw even more attention to themselves. Cove took a step in their direction. Grinning, he put his hands around his mouth to better project his message across the street. Hey! Laughing and arm in arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street. Hi. I hope you weren't waiting too long. She is so cute. She kind of reminds me of, Maybe from Arrested Development. A little bit. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know what kind of voice to give Terry. She's super tiny and her voice was like, hey, buddies. Like, that's Lee's voice. But whatever. No one cares. Let's go. My mom's have the same voice. They have for years. Hi, that joke wasn't funny. I'm amazed. How did you appear out of nowhere like that? I'm so happy to see you. I thought you both knew better than to jaywalk. I'd probably do this one. Like, you appeared out of nowhere. They started giggling again. Terry glanced at Miranda, wondering what their story should be. It was magic. Gesturing in a vaguely whimsical manner, Terry went along with the decision. And magicians never reveal their secrets. Ooh! That's fair. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove and crushed him in a painfully tight hug. You're finally here! It's been so long! What took you? He did his best to eke out a reply, with his chest being compressed. Sorry. Eventually, she let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Standing there, Miranda shifted her weight to the other hip. She watched Cove patiently with a bashful smile. Welcome back. Thanks. It finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you would have another afternoon like this again, and they didn't either. Cove? Terry poked Cove square in the chest. You're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday. Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with the Orca activities. When Cove wasn't at his part-time job or pursuing his athletic interest, he volunteered for the Ocean Restoration California affiliation, or Orca. The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollutions from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. It didn't surprise you one bit that he started getting involved with them. It's Cove's activity. You joined Orca. You were an Orca member and introduced Cove to it. Well, that does not sound like something I would do, so... Their big smash event for the year is coming right up, isn't it? Yeah, there's not much more to do before then, but I'm kind of looking forward to the fundraising push. You nodded, wondering how the event would turn out this year. I know you can do it, and even if it goes really bad, it still looks good on a college application at least. Well, that's true. Guess what else? We don't have to stand here and say stuff. Let's go! I would like a meal now. Perking up, Cove nodded in agreement. Yeah, I'm hungry. Time to head out. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly to stop to eat. The rest of the afternoon and evening passed in a blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. You were walking tiredly, you strolled with a skip and a step, you ambled along. Cove was giving you a piggyback ride. I'm gonna use that to the fullest of my advantage. Yes, carry me everywhere. It was a long day out and about. You appreciated that you could rely on him to make things more comfortable for you. You tightened your grip on Cove and turned your head ever so slightly, peering at his face out of the corner of your eye. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. It was out of character. Was it? Was it though? From my experience, no, it was not. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead and left you alone with your own thoughts. It surprised you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you. Feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same. They're not. You've changed, and they're still changing. Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true. Things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. You had been considering more and more, and ideas were starting to settle in your mind. You hoped to go to school, so full-time or part-time, work full-time, work part-time, to focus on time that's not school or work. High school, I would probably say school part-time. That's where I'm gonna go. And then probably focus on time that's not school or work, and that was the basics. For your education, you thought you'd attend a community college, which is what I did, and then I joined a trade school. So I'm going to go community college first, and then trade school, and that's it. For yourself, you wanted to work on self-improvement of your own, take some time to relax, try to figure out what you truly want. It's going to be this bottom one probably for high school me. And relax, and that's probably going to be it. And for that, you want to do stay local, go out of state, go abroad, travel around to different places. I'm not a big travel person even to this day, so we're going to stay local. That's what we're going to do. It would all be happening so soon. You had already applied to schools, you started to prepare for what was coming. You hadn't begun to do anything yet. Yeah, I was applying for schools like 2 months before I graduated, so we're going to go there. You'd been open about your situation. You had only spoken about this with family. You had kept it to yourself. Cove was the only person that knew. Yeah, everyone knows. I talk. Now you wondered what Cove had in mind. You heard him consider some things for his future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Cove stopped in the middle of the street. He sighed and put you down. You were both outside of your houses. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the words to say. So, are you still thinking about relaxing for a while and stuff in Sunset Bird? Yeah, you remembered. Cove closed his eyes and nodded while he composed his thoughts. He looked at you and then he lifted his head. I decided on something. Well, kind of. He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm, and then his expression grew more serious. I'm not going to decide on school or a career, not this summer. I'm going to stay here, at least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place. I'll keep working my job, doing volunteer stuff, and everything else. Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall or next year, or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever's happening. I'm not going to crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I can't do that. His brow furrowed and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him. I guess it'll be me and you, right here, for a while longer. His eyes were glossy. You weren't going to be separated, and that meant a very great deal to him. Your plan sounds very you. You nodded understandingly. You're glad the two of you would be in Sunset Bird together. Somehow I'm not surprised things turned out like this. Weren't sure how to react. It does sound very Cove. Ben sounds very you. Cove grinned. He looked relieved that you understood. I think so too. I'll see you tomorrow, French fires. I'm already looking forward to it. Night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug. It knocked the breath out of you, yet couldn't have been more reassuring. You returned his embrace, and stayed that way for as long as you could. Night. He finally let go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered, how many more times will he be able to say that, see you tomorrow? You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned towards your house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer.